Much like so many other horror subgenres, the trusty zombie movie is one that brings to mind certain stereotypes, certain familiar tropes, and a whole bunch of fist-chewing cliches. For the most part, a good chunk of these undead pictures feature a slew of the shuffling corpses swarming the landscape, while a group of would-be survivors battle themselves and the zombies in their desperate quest to live another day. I'm Jess from What Culture, and here are the 10 most unique plots in zombie movies. Number 10. Zombies. Whether you know it as zombies or wasting away, Matthew Conan's 2007 movie is a hugely intriguing beast due to how it flipped the script on what audiences had largely come to expect from zombie movies. In Zombies, the majority of the action is told from the viewpoint of the zombies of the picture. Having become infected after eating ice cream that had been contaminated by a military test serum, our core group of undead here aren't quite privy to the fact that they're in fact zombies. With an obvious dose of humor on display, Zombies delightfully switches the perspective throughout its 90-minute runtime. The scenes seen from the zombies' perspective are shown in color and at normal pace, featuring normal interactions, just with a dollop of brains being eaten here or there. Away from this, the movie utilizes black and white scenes to show how these undead sorts are viewed by the rest of the world, as in very much your regular zombies from your regular zombie films. There are a bunch of different zombie flicks which embrace comedy as part of their tale, yet few do it as well or as uniquely as Zombies does. Number 9. Maggie. When thinking of zombie movies, the images that likely spring to mind are of a group of survivors battling to overcome the odds as hordes of the undead fill the horizon. In 2015's Maggie, not only do we not get that, we also got an Arnold Schwarzenegger who was very much playing against type when it comes to the roles often associated with the Governator. Maggie is a poignant, heartbreaking exploration of a relationship between father and daughter, where the harshest of realities is on the table. Just, playing out in a post-apocalyptic landscape littered with zombies. The father and daughter duo here are Arnold's Wade Vogel and Abigail Breslin's Maggie, with the film opening on the revelation that Breslin's character has been bitten by one of the infected. With all aware that Maggie only has a matter of weeks alive, Wade convinces local medical personnel to let him care for his daughter at their family farm. Throughout Maggie, we get to see the titular teenager becoming more undead as the days go by, all while Wade struggles with the knowledge that he will eventually have to kill his offspring. Fortunately for him, when the time comes that Maggie is too far gone, she ends up taking that decision out of her father's hands. Number 8. The Night Eats the World. La Nuit a Devant le Monde, I'm sorry my French is rusty, aka The Night Eats the World, gives a fascinating look into what it would be like to survive the initial outbreak of a zombie apocalypse, and the impact the isolation of such a happening could have on a person's mental health. Starring Anders Danielsen Lee as Sam, this Dominique Rocha movie acts as a character study of sorts. Having managed to successfully barricade himself into a safe spot once Paris is overrun by a zombie outbreak, Sam's victory slowly turns to a nightmare. Unable to return to the streets, with zero company on the table, and with him having to use his dwindling smarts to think of fresh ways to have food and water, Sam's mental state eventually starts to decline as The Night Eats the World goes on. Hallucinating and contemplating suicide, Lee's character is left with the tough decision of venturing out into the wild streets of Paris or remaining in hiding and risking further impact on his already wavering mental health. While other zombie movies have at times focused on those who've already been through wars with the undead, rarely if ever have audiences seen a film laser focused in on one individual, left to battle their own isolated thoughts in addition to the shuffling hordes on their doorstep. Number 7. My Boyfriend's Back. Produced by Friday the 13th director Sean S. Cunningham, 1993's My Boyfriend's Back was the first all-out zombie romance movie. Sure, Life After Beth had a young fella trying to win over his back from the dead girlfriend, and Warm Bodies centered on a zombie looking for love, but My Boyfriend's Back has Andrew Lowry's deceased Johnny Dingle rising from his grave with the sole quest to woo his would-be prom date Missy McLeod. For Dingle, his resurrection is driven by nothing but love and by wanting to make a good impression on the girl he's had a crush on since he was in diapers. Then again, it's his same wanting to make a good impression plans that got Johnny killed in the first place, that being how he staged a faux robbery at Missy's workplace so that he could swing by and save the day, only to end up fatally shot by a real robber who just so happened to be on the scene at the time. Pitchforks from the locals and themes of prejudice and acceptance take center stage as My Boyfriend's Back kicks into gear, although that is all for naught when the close of the movie sends Johnny back in time to stop his own death, resulting in him taking Missy to the prom after all. Number 6. Goal of the Dead. Very much a movie of two halves. Just seeing the title of Goal of the Dead will likely have you groaning and expecting the absolute worst. As that title would suggest, this is a zombie picture that also serves as a football film too. And while its title may have you thinking otherwise, Goal of the Dead is actually a pretty damn good movie. Our in for the movie is Alban Lenoir's Sam Larry, a one-time small-town hero who left his hometown club for the riches on offer in Paris. As such, Larry is geared up for a rough reception from the small-town players and locals. So hated by his former club is Larry, one of their players is injected with a serum designed to enrage them as part of a plan to end Sam's career. Instead of merely becoming a leg-breaking thug of a footballer though, this serum-infected fella becomes a violent zombie who soon passes his condition onto others by vomiting on them. And the small town is soon thrust into the middle of its own zombie outbreak. Number 5. The Girl with All the Gifts. Based on Mike Carey's book of the same name, The Girl with All the Gifts could well be the greatest of the movies featured on this list. From director Colin McCarthy, here is a zombie picture that's both unique and also of the utmost quality. If there's only one film in this piece that you should instantly go out of your way to watch, it's undoubtedly this one. The core concept of the zombie has had several different labels over the decades, dating all the way back to George A. Romero dishing up ghouls in his game-changing Night of the Living Dead. And here in The Girl with All the Gifts, the infected masses are referred to as hungries. In this tale, your run-of-the-mill post-apocalyptic future is one that's been ravaged by a mutated fungal disease, which gives its victims a craving for human flesh. The only people who are seemingly immune to the full force of this virus are a special group of children, a group who, while they're still having flesh cravings, are able to think and act rationally. Melania is the key kid of this picture, with her viewed as the main ingredient to a vaccine and the main hope for a new world. Number 4. Exit Humanity. Having initially surfaced in 2011 and then made more widely available the following year, writer-director John Geddes' Exit Humanity manages to be an utterly unique zombie picture due to its setting. Taking place in the aftermath of the American Civil War, Mark Gibson's Edward Young finds himself going from one battle to another, returning home from the Civil War just as a zombie outbreak engulfs the country. With nothing left to live for and nothing left to fear, Young soon finds himself butting heads with Bill Moseley's General Williams, as post-Civil War tensions bubble to the surface. Having a zombie movie take place so far in the past, in this case the 19th century, is a novel concept in itself, but making Exit Humanity even more unique is how the film utilizes the US Civil War as its backdrop and a launching point for the quarrels of mankind seen in the picture. Throw in hordes of The Walking Dead alongside genre faves like Moseley, Dee Wallace, Stephen McHattie, and the dulcet tones of Brian Cox, and there's certainly an intriguing proposition on the table here. Number 3. Colin. Famously made for an initial sum of just £45, it's not only amazing that Mark Price's Colin was able to get itself a brief theatrical run, it's even more amazing that the movie's actually really good. That's no knock on Price's talents, of course, but more down to the fact that it's rare to find a film of genuine quality that's been put together for the price of a family takeaway. With Alistair Curtin in the title role, Colin takes place in the aftermath of nuclear war in the US. In the fallout of this war, a virus has engulfed the globe, causing the dead to reanimate and go on a quest to spread this infection far and wide as much as possible. For poor Colin, he's one of the unlucky sorts who finds themselves on the receiving end of a bite from one of these zombies. And with this 2008 film picking things up shortly after Cole's arm's been gnawed, we then see his inevitable fate play out. A very British film with a very British sense of humour and tone, Colin somehow works despite the clear restrictions at play for Price and his £45 budget. Even better, having the majority of its focus on one person going through his own zombification process brought something fresh to the zombie subgenre when Colin was first released. Number 2. Zombie Shark. The title of this article is geared towards the more unique zombie movies out there, not necessarily the best zombie movies out there. And in the case of Zombie Shark, we have an absolute stinker of a film. Still, Zombie Shark, aka Shark Island, aka Zombie Shark the Swimming Dead, no seriously, does for sure have an extremely unique plot at its core. In case you haven't guessed by its title, Zombie Shark does indeed feature undead sharks. Not just that, but these zombified sharks can bite and infect other sharks, and even people. Oh, and they can exist just as well on land as they can in the ocean. Unsurprisingly, Zombie Shark was made directly for TV purposes back in 2015, before then later getting a full home release. But yeah, even the most diehard of shark movie or zombie movie fans will find themselves biting off a little more than they can chew with this turd-tastic picture. Number 1. Cooties. Penned by Scream Queen's Ian Brennan and The Invisible Man's Lee Winnell, 2014's Cooties is a fun horror comedy zombie picture with one central plot point that makes it stand out from the pack. Here, the real kicker of Cooties is that it's only kids who are susceptible to the zombie outbreak of the movie. Conveniently, Cooties takes place in an elementary school, with the protagonist of the film being the teachers and janitor of said school. Once a bunch of rough chicken nuggets containing a virus makes its way to the school canteen, the youngins of the movie start to take a savage, flesh-craving turn, with the adults of the film soon finding themselves on the menu. This is an offering that's fairly unique in the zombie subgenre, solely for how it largely involves the likes of Elijah Wood, Alison Pill, Rainn Wilson, and Winnell himself, all trying to off a bunch of school kids in a wide variety of ways, culminating with a group of youngsters being squirted with a water pistol containing gasoline before then being set ablaze.